Hey up, it's that old Yorkshire geek here, and my camera needs adjusting. I was using it earlier on to do a sketch video, and I've not put it back quite right. There, that'll do. It's near enough. It's near enough. Near enough for council work, as they say. Round here. I'm not quite. I'm at middle now, aren't I? There we go. Right. As I said, hey up, it's that old Yorkshire geek here, back with some more geeky news. Bit of a quiet day today, so it might be a shortish video. But I've got some other videos up today. As I said, I've done a sketch video, because I like drawing. So that's up on the channel. I know they're not amazingly good. I can never get them super in focus, and I think because of I speed them up, because you don't want to see me drawing for an hour, do you? So I speed them up, and I think the slight motions of me, because I'm holding the paper as I draw. I don't draw on a desk or anything like that. I've got to hold it. So I think the motions sort of blur it slightly. But anyway, it's there if you want to watch it, with some music on that's from YouTube's audio library of copyright-free music. And what does it do? It gets a copyright strike because of that music. Unbelievable. Anyway, right, so I'll make myself small. I'll put myself in a corner and make myself small to protect myself. We'll get the window up. Bloodoosh, there we go. Now then, where's my thingy? There we go. Here's proof that Brad Wright's new Stargate script exists. Long-time Stargate producer Joseph Malozzi shared an image of the title page from the long-gestating Stargate series with part of the title left obscured. Ooh. This is from Gateworld, by the way. Great for if you want Stargate news. As usual, all the links are in the description box below. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share the videos and drop a comment in the comments. I'll probably get back to you, reply to you. I might just, say whatever. But I will reply. And use the notification bell so you know when I'm doing stuff. Right, where were we? So, Stargate. There's one of the chevrons on the Stargate. Love me Stargate, mate. Probably my second favourite franchise after Star Trek. And it's very, very close because I do love me Stargate. I've probably got more Stargate cosplay outfits than I do Star Trek ones. Anyway, fans who have been waiting for a morsel of information regarding Brad Wright's fourth in-canon Stargate series can rejoice at this small but exciting tease at what could soon be in the works if Amazon gives the green light. Yeah, because Amazon have pretty much got the go-ahead to buy MGM, haven't they? So they own Stargate now. Joseph Malozzi, hope I'm pronouncing that right. I can't pronounce names, we all know this. But yeah, I go on about J.K. Rowling, don't I? But, that's the one name I do know how to pronounce. Anyway, Joseph Malozzi, who was a long-time writer and producer on Stargate SG-1, Atlantis and Universe, has shared the title page of Brad Wright's Stargate pilot on social media, with the caption, "A little light reading ahead of the weekend." Malozzi seems to have edited the page to obscure part of the show's title, Stargate something. Or perhaps Wright himself has yet to decide on the show's full name and left the text box as a placeholder to fill in later. And here's the tweet, and there's the picture. Stargate something, episode 101, written by Brad Wright, March 24th, 2022. So, oh no, that's the date of the tweet, isn't it? Not the date that's on the script. Anyway, for anyone who wants to wager a guess as to what might be in the mind for the show's title, John S. on Twitter noted that with the font and size of box it would be 7 letters. Another fan noted Stargate Legacy would be one possibility that fits the space. In any case, let the guessing games begin. Even David Hewlett, who played Dr. Rodney McKay on I've just noticed it, on Stargate Atlantis, also joined in on the fun. He scribbled McKay over the blank text box, saying, "I fixed the cover page for you, Brad Wright. It's okay, consider it a gift." He's good as Rodney. As exciting as this is, it's important to remember two things. First, the show does not have the green light yet, and there is no guarantee that Amazon will ultimately choose to go with Wright's pitch for a new series. And second, if Amazon does pick up this series, it may be a while until it reaches our television screens. When the fan asked how long the process could take, Malozzi responded, "Depends on Amazon. If they greenlight the show, say next week, Brad could get a writer's room up and running by May, some scripts written for the top of summer, head into production in the back half of this year, start dropping new Stargate episodes summer of 2023, give or take." In a corresponding blog post, Malozzi added optimistically, "Are we about to lock that exclusive sixth chevron? Maybe you know what would really, really help? Letting Amazon know you're looking forward to Brad Wright's new Stargate series." Malozzi's sixth chevron comment harkens back to his Reddit comment back in 2020, where he fielded a question about the status of Brad Wright's potential new Stargate series. "Someone asked me how many chevrons have been locked. I told them 5, Malozzi said. Brad Wright first announced that he was talking with MGM about Stargate during an appearance at 2018's GateCon fan convention. Then in early 2019 he reiterated on the Nerks of the Hub fan podcast that he was actively working with the studio on a new show. Wright later revealed that his new Stargate pitch would see the Stargate program now revealed to the public and would take place in the present day, and he confirmed it would include appearances from legacy cast members of SG-1 and Atlantis at least, all while introducing new characters and pushing the franchise forward in a new direction. I hope we find out what happened to the Destiny crew from Stargate Universe, because they were all in stasis apart from Eli, because they were going between galaxies, weren't they, doing a long hyperspace jump between galaxies, not hyperspace, faster than light speed jump between galaxies. Anyway, the potential fourth Stargate series has been on the slow train in part because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I wrote a pilot for MGM and the timing could not have been worse in terms of delivery, Wright told Bleeding Cool, because the pandemic hit pretty much as I was typing the end. The future of his proposed fourth series suddenly became uncertain as studios around the world tightened their purses and struggled to restart film and television production safely. And I think that's Brad Wright with Richard Dean Anderson, a.k.a. General Jack O'Neill. Ends up being a general, doesn't he? Then in May of 2021, Amazon announced that it was buying up Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and all of its assets, including the Stargate franchise. That created a further degree of uncertainty for Brad Wright's fourth series, as the changing of the guard could see a shift in the studio's creative strategy or a lengthy acquisition process, during which plans for the Stargate franchise would remain in limbo. But now, less than a year later, Amazon's acquisition of MGM is complete, and the studio is free to press ahead with a Stargate movie or series for their streaming service, Amazon Prime Video. As recently as February, Wright made it clear that he was unaware of Amazon and MGM's intentions regarding Stargate, but he seemed eager to jump back into the captain's chair of a new Stargate series, should they give him the green light. With any luck and a bit of lobbying from fans, we may yet see a new Stargate series grace our television screens within the next few years. So there you go, that's it. So get lobbying Amazon, that going on their pages and sending them messages or doing things or whatever you do. I don't know what they do these days to get a new Stargate series running that's in the SG-1 Atlantis universe canon. That's what we want, and don't make it stupid and woke and, you know, just for the sake of it, make it good. Right. Star Wars just made Luke Skywalker's Last Jedi death more confusing. Well, I guess it was stupid. I'm not going to enjoy reading this, but I thought I've got to. Thanks to an upcoming Star Wars novel, Luke Skywalker's force projection and death at the end of The Last Jedi is now even more confusing. A new Star Wars book has made Luke Skywalker's death in Star Wars The Last Jedi even more confusing. I've just said that about 3 bleeding times. Thanks to a newly released preview for the upcoming novel Shadows of the Sith, new details into Luke Skywalker's adventures between the original and sequel trilogies have been revealed. While it confirms that the Jedi Master was able to create force projections long before the Battle of Crate, it creates some confusion as to why the effort led to Luke's death in The Last Jedi, because The Last Jedi was shite. I hate that film. Shadows of the Sith from author Adam Christopher will focus primarily on Luke Skywalker. However, Lando Calrissian will also... Let's get a drink, because my mouth's all stupid. A glink of water. Right, however, Lando Calrissian will also be involved, which will undoubtedly pay off their referenced investigations into the Sith that were made in The Rise of Skywalker. That space comedy. According to the synopsis for the book, Lando and Luke will be tracking down the Sith assassin Ochi. Is that what it is? I can't remember. Of Bestoon, the same assassin who was tasked with hunting down and bringing young Rey to Palpatine, though he ultimately failed. However, it's also teased that Luke has been growing increasingly concerned with visions of the dark side of the Force and the hidden Sith world of Exegol. You know, that world where you've got to go through this narrow passage to get to it, yet when you come out of it, there's like whole space everywhere around. Right? You just come from a different direction. You don't understand this, J.J. Abrams. It's all just... don't get me started. I'll get me mad up. Now, Lucasfilm has published an excerpt for Shadows of the Sith, which takes place 10 years before The Force Awakens. It's always 10 years, isn't it? Or 5. Before The Force Awakens. In it, Luke is meditating on the planet Tython, the very same Jedi world where Ahsoka sent Din Djarin and Grogu in the 2nd season of The Mandalorian. Oh, that where they met Boba Fett. Surprisingly, Luke's powerful connection to the Force sees him transported to the world of Exegol, where he faces 9 Sith spirits. Oh, pardon me. I'm starving. I am starving. Sorry, you might hear my stomach gurgling and rumbling, but I'm really hungry. I've got some spaghetti bolognese bubbling. Well, not bubbling away. It was bubbling away about 10 minutes ago, but I just turned it off before we came on air. Anyway, quickly realising that he's having a real experience despite his physical body still being on Tython, it seems as though Shadows of the Sith will feature the first time Luke uses Force projection. This would be the same ability Luke used during the Last Jedi to appear before Kylo Ren and save the Resistance while his physical body was still on Acto. However, this does make things somewhat confusing. It raises questions of why Luke died from the effort projecting from Acto, stupid name, sounds like a sneeze, doesn't it, to create, but not years earlier when he did it for the first time from Tython to Exegol. Because they don't know what they're doing. It will be exciting to learn what the reasoning might be and if the full novel will reveal more details about Force projection in general. It's possible that Luke, Force projecting to Crate, took a greater toll on the Jedi Master due to being older and the years he'd spent in isolation, having lost faith in the Jedi way and in himself. Prior to losing Ben Solo to Snoke and the dark side of the Force, Luke was undoubtedly stronger and more secure in his connection to the Force, which would explain why he wasn't killed in the effort projecting to Exegol, though that's just conjecture. While Shadows of the Sith will potentially provide new insights into the powerful Force ability that lead to Luke's death in Star Wars The Last Jedi, this new excerpt also confirms that the Jedi Master apparently knew more about Palpatine's plans on Exegol than fans ever knew from The Rise of Skywalker alone. Furthermore, the major reveal that Anakin Skywalker's Force ghost will be saving Luke from the dark spirits absolutely primes this new novel to be the most exciting and anticipated Star Wars novel in years. Adam Christopher's Shadows of the Sith releases on June 28th, 2022. It'll just, contradict what they've seen in the films. And then they'll say, yeah, it's all canon, but then they'll do another film or another TV series that'll contradict it, and they'll say, well, whatever. Because they've done that with the Aftermath books, didn't they? They had stuff in there that's supposed to be canon. They said, it's all canon, it's all connected. And then, they contradicted it in the films, didn't they? Anyway, let's do some Star Trek, eh? Clint Howard. Who don't like Clint Howard? Probably everybody, because he's a bit weird, isn't he? Clint Howard is the Star Trek guest star who spans the whole franchise. He does, though. There he is as a kid, as Baylock of the First Federation. Right, Clint Howard is the very definition of a character actor, but not a modern Major General. Or is he? I don't know. And the Star Trek favourite, unmistakable in appearance and voice, Howard can stake claim to a career that spans portions of 7 decades, and is still only in his 60s, and encompasses more than 250 film and television credits. He's popped up in massive hits and Oscar winners, and without apology, grasping that work is work and bills must be paid, Howard's CV includes dozens of deliciously cheesy B movies. Among his credits are Gentle Ben, Winnie the Pooh, the voice of Roo in several iterations, The Andy Griffith Show, Austin Powers International Man of Mystery, Apollo 13, The Dentist, Solo a Star Wars Story, Three from Hell, and Pam and Tommy. Several of those projects were directed by his brother, actor-turned-director Ron Howard. Clint and Ron most recently collaborated on a memoir, The Boys, that is out now. Obviously not The Boys that's on Amazon, with exploding mutants and stuff. A galaxy of Trek appearances. Also, among those 250-plus credits are 4 official visits to the Star Trek universe. Howard started in 1966 with the role of Baylock in the first season Star Trek episode The Corbomite Maneuver, followed by his roles as Grady in Deep Space Nine's Past Tense Part 2 in 1995, Muck in the Enterprise installment Acquisition in 2003, and an Orion in the Discovery Hour, Will You Take My Hand? Not me hand. In 2018. I think the final episode of Season 1, wasn't it? Howard, in fact, is to date the first and only actor to shoot scenes for an episode of the original series and an episode of Discovery. Leonard Nimoy appeared on Discovery via archive footage. Howard already was a veteran child actor when at age 7 he auditioned for and won the role of Baylock. The character, an adult but childlike in appearance, commanded and was the sole occupant of the Fesarius, flagship of the First Federation. After making first contact using a fearsome puppet to threaten the Enterprise, Baylock revealed his true self, ultimately inviting Kirk McCoy and landing party member Dave Bailey, Anthony Call, aboard his ship. That puppet petrified me as a kid. It did. Whenever it came on, cause they used to use it a lot in the end credits, used to appear in that a lot, didn't it? So every time I saw that, frightened me to death. Sometimes I even had to look away. I was that scared. Scared me. I wonder why. Because I've been abducted by aliens, probably. Because it did look a bit like a grey, didn't it? Anyway, there they shared Tranya, and Bailey agreed to stay aboard the Fesarius to keep the lonely alien company. The Corbomite Maneuver routinely and deservedly ranks among the top 10 best episodes of Star Trek, lauded for embracing the other and celebrating exploration. The episode was nominated for a Hugo Award in 1967 in the Best Dramatic Presentation category. I remember getting the skull cap put on, Howard told StarTrek.com. They had asked me if I wanted to shave my head, and at that time I was going to a public school in Burbank, and I said, no thanks. I've got pictures of the makeup guy, stills of them putting the piece on me. I remember vividly putting on the skull cap. More than anything, I remember preparing for the job. My dad, actor Rance Howard, was always about preparation. So, as a young actor, I always went in being very prepared. They were originally going to use my voice, but they ended up using a synthesizer along with the voice of the late Walker Edmiston. That was a brand new thing, a synthesizer. Anyway, I had to learn the scene, and for a little guy like me at that time, it was a mouthful, he continued. So I remember all my preparation. Then I remember being on the bridge. I made sure my dad took a picture of me standing there and sitting in the captain's chair. Everyone was real friendly. But the experience of shooting it, that was like doing any other scene. You have your lines and you do it, and the next thing you know, you're done. And there's a picture of him. Picture of him with his brother Ron. Where are we? Howard never saw Star Trek's popularity coming, but reports that he's been happy, even honoured, to ride the wave for 55 years and counting. He still attends autograph events and Star Trek conventions. He reprised his role as Baylock for Comedy Central's roast of William Shatner in 2006. His cameo as a shady Orion, who seems to have Tranya-esque booze nearby, occurred as a direct result of his friendship with Discovery writer-producer Akiva Goldsman, who directed Will You Take My Hand and co-wrote the story. At the beginning, when Star Trek started to have legs, it was really surprising, Howard admitted. I've never actually been a big sci-fi guy, and although I was really happy to be on the show because of the cool devices and because the beam me up Scotty and all that stuff was fascinating to me, it was just another job. The fact that it has stayed in the public consciousness for such a long period of time, it just goes back to my theory that you cannot take this business too seriously. What are you talking about? You on about back in 1966? It was like one of the earliest episodes. How do you know this cool devices and beam me up Scotty and stuff? Anyway, never mind. Ready for more. And if the Star Trek team approaches Howard about acting in Strange New Worlds or lending his voice to one of the current animated adventures, Lower Decks and Prodigy, he'd listen. Oh, sure, Howard said. I'm an actor and I love gainful employment. Virtually every job offer gets a legitimate consideration from me, but the fact that it's Star Trek is a yes at the drop of a hat. How many people have been on shows 55 years ago and are still being asked to be in incarnations of the same franchise? Oh, that's your lot. So yeah, he's been in every incarnation of Star Trek. The original series, the Berman era, and now the Kurtzman era. Unfortunately... But season 1, I quite like season 1. But it did have its ups and downs. Sticking with Star Trek and Discovery. Discovery's finale hints Star Trek returns to warp drive. I wouldn't know because I hadn't seen season 4. As I said, I saw first 2 episodes. Started watching episode 2, pardon me, of season 4. And I got about 5 minutes in, and she started crying, and I thought, oh, for God's sake, so I just turned it off and I haven't watched it since. Like every episode, she's bawling her eyes out and whispering, oh, and you're a captain of a Starfleet vessel. Both spore drives were destroyed in Star Trek Discovery Season 4's finale, which could signal Disco re-embracing traditional warp travel in Season 5, which they should have had to start with. By the end of Star Trek Discovery's Season 4 finale, the 2 spore drives used by the USS Discovery and Cleveland Booker's David Ayala ship were destroyed, which could signal a return to traditional warp travel in Season 5. In Coming Home, Captain Michael Burnham, Sonequa Martin Green, and the USS Discovery's crew came face to face with species 10C, you know, them that look like female reproductive organs, which is probably deliberate, and successfully negotiated the massively powerful aliens to halt the dark matter anomalies' attack on Earth and Navarre, which is Vulcan. They changed its name for some reason. Well, because Romulans ended up, you know, they had reunification basically, didn't they? And so they changed the name of Vulcan. While Discovery's monumental first contact saved the United Federation of Planets, it came at a cost as well. Dr. Ruon Tarker, Sean Doyle, was killed and the spore drives were lost. The displacement-activated spore drive is Star Trek Discovery's great innovation, and addition to Star Trek's technology, but it was controversial when it was first introduced because it was stupid. Invented in part by Commander Paul Stamets, Anthony Rapp, the Spore Drive allows instantaneous travel via the mycelial network. Essentially, it lets the USS Discovery teleport to a location, which largely eliminated Star Trek's traditional warp travel. But that wouldn't have mattered anyway in Kurtzman Trek, like J.J. Abrams Trek, because you can just get anywhere instantly, anywhere. You go to warp, and then 2 seconds later, they're dropping out of warp, and they're there, with no passage of time. Because they don't know, they don't care about verisimilitude. Essentially, it lets the USS Discovery, I just said that, right, but because Star Trek Discovery Seasons 1 and 2 were set a decade before Star Trek the original series, the Spore Drive was canonically problematic, because no other ship in Star Trek had this technology, not even the USS Enterprise. Yeah. And then they just decided not to talk about it again, and they classified it. But you'd think, when the Dominion War started, that the Federation was losing, you thought they'd dusted off the old Spore Drive files and tried to get one of them up and running, because the Spore Drive essentially saved the Federation in the Klingon War, didn't it, in Star Trek Discovery. God, I hate it. Star Trek Discovery jump into the 32nd century in Season 3 allowed the series to circumvent its issues with canon, and Discovery found that it was the only ship with a Spore Drive 930 years later. Yeah, because they sort of like regressed somehow, just about, apart from a couple of things, like detached nacelles. Unbelievably crap. The Spore Drive gave Discovery, that is detached nacelles, they had the pylons leading to the nacelles, and then there was a gap in between the pylon and the nacelle. So God knows how the energy travelled. Did it beam? You think it'd take more energy to transmit it between the warp core and the warp coils in the nacelle. But then in Star Trek, in Discovery, they forgot that they had detached nacelles, because there was one episode where they had to go into the nacelles to plant a bomb or something, and then they just conveniently forgot that there were detached nacelles. The Spore Drive gave Discovery a crucial advantage when the galaxy was completely left without warp travel because of the burn. It wasn't completely left without. There was some ships around that had dilithium crystals in, because there were still some dilithium crystals knocking about, and they were basically used as super ace currency, weren't they, with dilithium crystals? Because there weren't many left, because of that that Kelpian child that were born on a dilithium planet, and so it made him bond in a subspace level with dilithium. And when he cried out in anguish and rage at his mother's death, he made every starship with an active warp core in the galaxy explode. I've no words, it is awful. Anyway, in Star Trek Discovery Season 4's finale, Captain Burnham ordered Stamets to use the Spore Drive to break the USS Discovery free from an orb it was trapped in within Species 10C's hyperfield. As Stamets explained, when the Spore Drive is activated, it emits enough energy to propel the Discovery through the mycelial network. By remaining stationary, the Discovery was able to escape the orb, but the feedback burned out the Spore Drive. Not long after, General Ndoye piloted the shuttlecraft to stop Tarka from detonating a weapon to destroy the hyperfield protection used by the Species 10C aliens. Ndoye rammed Book's ship, which destroyed it and presumably killed Tarka in the process. But thanks to the mad scientist, Book's ship had the prototype of the next generation Spore Drive Tarka invented installed aboard, which was also lost. When Book's ship was destroyed, Conveniently, Species 10C sent the Discovery home via a wormhole. A worm what? A wormhole. A what hole? A wormhole. Mystery Science Theatre 3000 reference there for you. And Stamets did note that the spore drive could be repaired once the starship is in space dock. All right, so they'll use it in season 5. They'll find some reason that they've got to have it. However, destroying both spore drives could signal a creative reset for Star Trek Discovery. After 4 seasons of the spore drive, it's possible Paramount Plus's flagship Star Trek series may seize the opportunity to create a new space travel technology for Star Trek Discovery Season 5. Without Dr. Tarker, it may be that no one else can duplicate his next-generation spore drive, but even after the USS Discovery solved the mystery of the burn and brought dilithium crystals back to the galaxy, the Federation still began experimenting with alternatives to traditional warp travel. Star Trek Discovery Season 5 could introduce a brand new technology to replace the spore drive. There's all different sorts of things, alternatives to warp travel, isn't there? I mean, what about the Borg? They're in the galaxy, are they? And in Picard, they've said the Borg were more or less crippled, weren't they? But they didn't use warp. So if they were still knocking about, in the Delta Quadrant or whatever, they didn't use dilithium crystals. They used what they call it, them conduit things, didn't they? They had the big hub, didn't they? Thingy hub. Transwarp conduits, that was it. And I don't think they used dilithium crystals, or the Borg could have taken over the galaxy. Anyway, did the Dominion use dilithium crystals in their warp engines? Dunno. They're in the Gamma Quadrant. And we know the Romulans used a forced quantum singularity, didn't they, as their to power the warp cores. I don't know if they used dilithium in the focusing of the energies. I don't know. It's never said. Anyway, alternatively, Star Trek Discovery Season 5 might re-embrace warp travel. Some of Star Trek's most exciting episodes and dramatic situations involve warp travel, which Discovery hasn't utilised since Burnham's starship easily teleports to its desired location. Yeah, because it's stupid. And lazy. Indeed, the USS Discovery, caught in the subspace rift and later travelling through the galactic barrier to meet Species 10C, were both riveting scenarios. Well, I'll take your word for that, mate. And among Season 4's best episodes, precisely because they couldn't rely on the easy solution of the spore drive. Warp travel is an indelible part of Star Trek, and Star Trek Discovery Season 5 might just bring traditional warp back to prominence in the 32nd century. Don't count on it. They'll fix it. Stamets will fix it, because they'll have to get Discovery somewhere super fast, because that's all they know how to do. Nearly done. As I said, it's a short show tonight. Doctor Who. What makes a great multi-Doctor story? With one rumoured for the show's 60th anniversary, do multi-Doctor stories work best as celebratory romps or opportunities to change the status quo and kickstart new eras? And there's Matt Smith and David Tennant. Warning, contains spoilers for every multi-Doctor story on TV. Multi-Doctor stories, what they are and what they try to do, are hugely shaped by the context in which they're made. Very broadly speaking, they can be approached in two ways. The Three Doctors and The Day of the Doctor are examples of multi-Doctor stories that use the recent storylines of the show as a starting point and have the story change the existing status quo, with the Doctor being able to pilot the TARDIS again after the Three Doctors and the restoration of Gallifrey in Day of the Doctor. By comparison, the Five Doctors is a fun but heartfelt runaround of the show's cliches and iconography. As good as Five Doctors, I like it. However, it's not as simple as that. All of these stories revel in nostalgia, and even the romp of the Five Doctors has a twist. Long-standing character from the Doctor's past turn out to be the main antagonist, while adding to Time Lord mythology. Because we do all this Rassilon stuff, don't we? There's not really a straightforward binary to divide them with. Even the Two Doctors, which isn't an anniversary story or celebration, impacts on the show's mythology, albeit due to a continuity issue that got explained by adding a hidden season onto the Second Doctor era after his final story, The War Games. This is the multi-Doctor story that exists solely because producer John Nathan Turner thought multi-Doctor stories were cool and that there should be another one. So what makes a good multi-Doctor story? It depends who you ask, but fan polls tend to place the Day of the Doctor as the best, followed by the 5 Doctors, then 3 Doctors. These all place fairly evenly across the top 60 stories or so, with the 2 Doctors somewhere in the lower half. Each story takes a different approach, so calling for a 60th anniversary special to match your personal taste is tricky, because saying I just want a big old nostalgia hit ignores why anniversary specials end up the way they do. All these stories are the way they are because of the context of production. The 60th anniversary will be no different. The 3 Doctors. Christopher Eccleston recently commented that multi-Doctor stories didn't work for him creatively and that he regarded them as a bit of a cash grab. In some senses he's right, because the 3 Doctors was commissioned as an attention-grabbing piece of event television to start the show's 10th series. This doesn't seem cynical, though, so much as a sensible programming decision by the production team. And there they are. With John Pertwee and Patrick Troughton and William Hartnell. Is that William Hartnell? I know he appeared on the screen, didn't he, in that episode? Yeah, he did, yeah. Because he was very ill, apparently. And so he couldn't actually be on set, so they pre-recorded it and he was on like a screen. I think that were 3 Doctors, wasn't it? Anyway. At the time, it was also completely novel, because they got somebody else to play the first Doctor in the 5 Doctors, didn't they? Because William Hartnell had died by then. Anyway, at the time, it was also completely novel. There hadn't been a multi-Doctor story before, and producer Barry Letts had resisted the idea. It was only for the 10th anniversary that Letts felt such a story was justified, and this would also be a good opportunity to restore the Doctor's ability to pilot the TARDIS and change the show's contemporary Earthbound setting. The additions to Time Lord history were not part of the original script, but came about when the standard feedback and redrafting process resulted in changes to the original concepts. The 3 Doctors attempting to avert a war between Gallifrey and a Federation of Evil, according to the Brief History of Time website. The 3 Doctors started on 9.6 million viewers, in 41st place on the viewing charts, and ended with 11.9 million viewers and in 17th place. So Let's season launch was a success. Pardon me. And Doctor Who had fully moved away from being set in one place and time. I need another drinky. The 5 Doctors. I like this one, because I was quite young when it came out. 1981, how old will I be? 14. So that's one that I liked. This set the precedent for the 20th anniversary special, The 5 Doctors, with John Nathan Turner beginning the preparations for a multi-Doctor story in 1981. The reason the story ended up as a feature-length episode is because Doctor Who was now being broadcast from January, and the BBC were unable to move it in the schedules because lead actor Peter Davison was committed to filming the sitcom Sink or Swim for them too. This meant that Doctor Who wasn't scheduled to be airing during its anniversary month of November, so a 90-minute special was proposed. Writer Robert Holmes began working on a story called The 6 Doctors, but struggled with it. Holmes was not hugely interested in working with the other writers' characters and playing the hits, and so this was not the project for him. Terence Dix, another former script editor on the show, came in and managed to find a story that fitted the brief. Dix was probably the finest nuts and bolts writer in the show's history, so much so that even his novel The 8 Doctors, written to launch the BBC books line of Eighth Doctor Adventures after the 1996 TV movie, manages to be incredibly readable despite it consisting of Dix writing sequels to his own stories. and savaging the bits of Doctor Who he didn't like. I've not read it, so I don't know. The fact that the 5 Doctors also involved the Time Lords was potentially a result of Dix replacing Holmes as the writer, as Dix decided to build on Holmes' depiction of Gallifrey in The Deadly Assassin. As with the 3 Doctors, the expansion of Time Lord mythology was not part of the original concept for the story, but was added as it developed. Yeah, the 3 Doctors, it were Omega, wasn't it? Who was the villain, and in the 5 Doctors, it's Rassilon, isn't it? I think it's Rassilon. After being presented with a list of items to include, some of which were added and removed based on actors' availability / willingness to be involved, Dick's instincts in terms of both nostalgia, he insisted the Daleks make an appearance, and telling a good story were almost entirely correct. Despite the rewrites it entailed, Tom Baker's late withdrawal from the project ultimately benefited the 5 Doctors, as otherwise the first Doctor would have spent most of the story stuck in the TARDIS. Being given a list of requirements can be a constraint rather than a foundation, as Robert Holmes found out twice. I don't remember the Daleks being in the 5 Doctors. It's been a while since I've seen it, though. I remember Cybermen were in it, and the Daleks were mentioned. I don't actually remember seeing them. I'll have to watch it again. Right, the 2 Doctors. If the 2 Doctors could be considered a cash grab, it failed. The 4th story of season 22, it had the lowest average viewing figures per episode, with ratings going down for episode 1 from the final part of The Mark of the Rani. John Nathan Turner asked for another multi-Doctor story and wanted it to be partly filmed in New Orleans to appeal to American fans. The funding fell through and the story was relocated to Seville after Robert Holmes had already drafted a story based around the New Orleans setting, creating a race of food-obsessed aliens and writing a story about vegetarianism as a result. There are some thoughtful defences of this story. Rob Shearman's, for example, in About Volume 6, described the 2 Doctors as the opposite of a celebration, a scabrous satire on Doctor Who itself, and what an audience will accept as monstrous. Whichever interpretation of it you go along with, this is darkly comic and provocative, and so stands out among the multi-Doctor stories. Nonetheless, it continues the tradition of Holmes, Holmes established in The Deadly Assassin and Dix continued in the 5 Doctors, of making the Time Lords seem morally murky. I don't know if I've seen the 2 Doctors. I bet I have. I bet if I see it, I'll go like, oh yeah, that one. But it doesn't ring a bell. Robert Holmes and Stephen Moffat are very different writers, but Moffat's multi-Doctor stories move from celebratory to discursive, with different eras of the show in conversation with each other. In this way, both writers use multi-Doctor stories to write Doctor Who about Doctor Who. Due to Moffat writing his stories after the show had been off-air for 16 years between 1989 and 2005, his stories have this gap to address and bridge. Hence, when the idea of the War Doctor developed, Moffat was able to use him to represent what has now become known as the classic series Doctors. This was a relief for Moffat because he felt pressure to include previous Doctors, but knew that the story he wanted to tell precluded this. This allowed him to have a representative of the original run interact with and critique the post-2005 series. With his Children in Need special Time Crash, Moffat has the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, explicitly connect Peter Davison's 5th Doctor with the current incarnation of both character and show. In his final script for the show, Moffat has David Bradley's 1st Doctor and Peter Capaldi's 12th interact. The most successful part of this is the 1st Doctor witnessing the violence and horror of Doctor Who unfold in front of him. Note that, 1st Doctor. David Bradley, William Hartnell, 1st Doctor. Just think about that when you watch, what Chibnall and co have done, especially the escalating stakes of the post-2005 series, and sees Future as being the Doctor of War. The response from 12, to be fair, they cut out all the jokes, is amazing. Again, we see a Doctor from the original run interrogating and responding to tropes of the newer series, Moffat being a more romantic cynic than Robert Holmes. These questions end up with happier answers. All three of Moffat's multi-Doctor stories are influenced by their production situations, especially The Day of the Doctor. With Eccleston not returning, Moffat needed to change his plans, and the invention of the War Doctor was huge for the story itself, the mythology of the show, and to allow the meta-commentary mentioned above. With the Ninth Doctor, this simply would not have had the same impact or worked in the same way. Twice Upon a Time exists largely because Moffat didn't want Doctor Who to lose its Christmas Day slot, with the new production team unwilling to launch with a Christmas episode, and so an extra story was written for the 12th Doctor. Moffat, as he often did, turned the show in on itself and wrote a partially successful story about memories and the influence of the past on the future and the future on the past. So in terms of the 60th anniversary episode, can we say with certainty what needs to be in it? Nope. That was worth waiting for, wasn't it? Nonetheless, let's hypothesize. Previous stories teach that actor availability is a huge factor. We don't know what happens in the final 13th Doctor stories at this stage. We don't actually know for sure, despite the rumour mill, that the anniversary episode will be a multi-Doctor story. We don't know what a Russell T Davies written multi-Doctor story will be like exactly, but we know from stories like Journey's End and The End of Time that Davies has a track record for delivering big popular hits when celebrating the show that feature ensemble casts. These were celebrations specifically of the era of Doctor Who he had helped create, with multiple returning characters involved, but this was after 4 series of incredibly popular television. The context for the 60th anniversary is of an older show in a different TV landscape. Can a multi-Doctor story even function as a stepping-on point or soft reboot? It seems unlikely, but not impossible. Looking back at Davies's Doctor Who, especially the first episode of the 2005 series, the way in for the audience was through the companion. We saw the Doctor through her. Perhaps then a better way to indulge in nostalgia in the current context is to have a multi-companion story. We know Davies can write these based on Journey's End, and this would allow for different perspectives on the show's history to interact, shedding new light on the title character while celebrating the entirety of Doctor Who. Anyway, that's my guess. I can't wait to be wrong in 20 months' time. And that was written by Andrew Blair. I'm just saying because he said I in it. Not me, him. So anyway, I hope they do a good 60th anniversary, and I hope it is a multi-Doctor one because I like multi-Doctor stories, and I hope Russell T Davies does it well, and I hope he undoes all the mess that Chibnall's created. Because I like Doctor Who. I'm not a massive, fan. I don't collect stuff to do with it, but I do like Doctor Who. I mean, Terror of the Zygons is my favourite ever episode. I love that episode. And of course, Genesis of the Daleks, probably the greatest story of Doctor Who. But Terror of the Zygons is my favourite. And I've got a soft spot for Seeds of Doom. I like that one as well, because it's a bit like The Thing. Right, last one, bit of news. Strange new type of solar wave defies physics. Wow. They're finding hints at undiscovered solar physics. That's the sun. Scientists have detected a strange new type of high-frequency wave on the sun's surface, and the waves are moving 3 times faster than scientists thought was possible. The acoustic waves, called high-frequency retrograde, HFR, vorticity waves, were spotted rippling backward through the sun's plasma in the opposite direction of its rotation. The previously unknown type of wave was described in a study published March 24th in the journal Nature Astronomy. Scientists can't see into the sun's fiery depths, so they often measure the acoustic waves that move across its surface and bounce back towards its core to infer what's going on inside. But the unprecedented speed of the HFR waves, spotted in 25 years of data from space and ground-based telescopes, has hinted that scientists might be missing something big. The very existence of HFR modes and their origin is a true mystery and may allude to exciting physics at play. Co-author Shravan Hanasogi, an astrophysicist at New York University's Abu Dhabi's Centre. New York University have an Abu Dhabi Centre. Well, obviously paid by whoever rules Abu Dhabi. Because you know that... what is it? They don't like the Flintstones in the United Arab Emirates. But, or was it? The United Arab... Not a comedian, am I? The United Arab Emirates don't like the Flintstones, but Abu Dhabi do. I'll never be a stand-up comedian, will I? Get booed off the stage and tomatoes thrown at me. You're throwing tomatoes at your screens now. Abu Dhabi's Centre for Space Science said in a statement it has the potential to shed insight on the otherwise unobservable interior of the Sun. Scientists initially thought that acoustic solar waves form near the Sun's surface thanks to the Coriolis effect, in which points on the rotating sphere's equator seem to move faster than points on its poles. Once the waves form, scientists think of the three possible processes. Think one of the three possible processes could accelerate them into HFR waves. Either the Sun's magnetic field or its gravity could be boosting the Coriolis waves, or super hot convection currents moving under and across its surface could be dragging them to unprecedentedly high speeds, but none of these possible processes fit the data. So how fast are they going? Don't say. If the HFR waves could be attributed to any of these three processes, then the finding would have answered some open questions we still have about the Sun. First author Chris Hansen, a solar physicist at New York University Abu Dhabi's Centre for Space Science, said in a statement. However, these new waves don't appear to be a result of these processes, and that's exciting because it leads to a whole new set of questions. Filling in the gaps in their knowledge might help the researchers better understand the Sun's interior, as well as get a better sense of how the Sun affects Earth and other planets in the solar system. It could also give insight into a similar type of high-frequency wave called a Rossby wave, which has been seen traversing Earth's oceans 4 times faster than current models can explain. So there you go. Oh, there you go. New science that they don't understand. Right, that's your lot. We'll leave it there. I say that, don't I? Every time. Got to say the same stuff. Right, so that's it for today. That's a little bit shorter this time, by about 10-20 minutes or so. It's right. It's right. I can go get something to eat now, can't I? And watch some telly. I might find the 5 Doctors and watch that. I better don't. I better forget. Right, so wherever you are in the world, be nice to each other. Help each other. Help each other when you can, because that's the nice thing to do, isn't it? And and it's pretty summertime now, so it's not dark. It is dark outside now, but when I started, it wasn't. So hopefully we'll get some nicer weather. We've had some lovely weather recently around here, but it's going to change next week and get cold again. But anyway, I digress as usual. So until tomorrow, when there'll be some more news, I hope. A bit of a slow news day today, but I found some, mildly interesting things. So until tomorrow, I'll say they. I'm pointing, not doing my thumb there. I'll say they.